Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ifa Bemero, and I am the facilitator for this afternoon's program on Herbal Health. The host is uh, Iante, PhD, but otherwise known as Dr. Ingrid, should be on shortly. I would like to open with a brief prayer and read an essay, Ifa. Um, I'm going to offer an IBA in English. My reverence to Oludumare, he that spread all over the universe. Reverence to the dawn of the day, reverence to the sunset, reverence to Mother Earth, reverence to Orun Mila, witness to creation, reverence to the 200 Iromole of the right hand side of Oludumare, reverence to the 200 Iromole on the left hand side of Oludumare, reverence to the 401 Iromolets, the ones that shuttle between Orun and Aye. Reverence to Akoda, the first student of Ifa. Reverence to Ashida, the first student of Akoda. Reverence to the mothers, the beautiful birds. Reverence to one's ancestors. Reverence to our fathers, ancestors. Reverence to our mothers, ancestors. Reverence to our Olowo. Reference to our Ojukbona. Reverence Baba, Reverence Yeye, Reverence Olowo, Reverence Ojukbona. All right, I share. The Udo that I'm going to read from is A.G. Ogbe. The essay Ifa reads, I lift up my arms and walk in joyful satisfaction. Ifa divination was done for Orun Mila. They said Baba would not be able to carry out his responsibilities to the end of his life. But I will carry out my responsibilities to the end of my life. And so I lift my arms and walk with dignity and measured movement. Okay, while we await the arrival of the host, the topic for this afternoon, I think, is hydrotherapy. So this is the subject that is going to be discussed this afternoon. All right. Well, the guest, of course, is the expert on the subject, you know. But in general, hydrotherapy is a method of treatment where water is used to administer some measure of relief for various conditions. It is a very old traditional practice. It is nothing new. It's something that has been practiced for a very, very long time. The theory behind it is that water has many properties that gives it the ability to heal. Well, of course, as we know, there are different bodies of water and various sources that are used by human beings. And of course, depending on the source, the properties of the water is going to be different. All right. But generally, the purpose that it is used for normally is to carry away heat, or to reduce or increase energy depending on whatever else is added to the water. But water could also be used to dissolve other substances such as minerals and salts. All right, that is sort of like the general use or the general purpose of water. Different cultures, though, even though they may use the same resource, in most instances, you know, depending on the society to which it belongs, the use might be somewhat different. But the application and the use is also, let me do this.
Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green.
Okay, I would like to say Agboato to those who are on live and following the stream. The host should be on short briefly. She seemed to have had some sort of difficulties getting on, but that was just resolved. So hopefully she should be on shortly. But on the area of holistic health, I'm not going to talk about the subject, but I will just probably talk about a couple of other things while we await the guest. Um, in the Caribbean, in Trinidad in particular, we are very fortunate to have several different type of herbs that we use um, because of the composition of the population. We use indigenous medicine, which would be the medicine of the native people here, the American Indians, who we call in Trinidad the Carib and the Arawaks. We also have herbs that are used uh, from Africa because many of the African people who were brought here also made their contribution to the field of herb. All right, we have our host now with us, uh, Iante PhD. I want to call her Dr. Iante, but she doesn't want me to call her that. So let me allow her to introduce herself, and then she and her topic, and then we would get right into it. Is your microphone muted? Because I'm not hearing you. All right, go ahead, Doc.
Okay, Alafia and good evening to everyone. So, welcome back to season 2 of our traditional herbal show on the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network. So, indeed, I do not introduce myself as a doctor because I like the idea of just being a Iya, just being a mom, just being everybody's auntie. So, I am Coach Yanti, your friendly co host, Doctor of Naturopathy and Holistic Coach, and I'm streaming from the friendly island of St. Martin.
Okay, Doc. Can you introduce your topic for today? I had mentioned a little bit about it, and I didn't want to go too much into it because I wanted to leave that for the expert.
Okay, so this evening, we are going to talk about the terms of naturopathy and traditional medicine. What do you expect from a naturopath, and what do you expect from a traditional herbalist? Often we do mix both terms, and without really paying attention whether there's a difference in the work of one or the other. Okay, and furthermore, it is often confused as well with naturopathic medicine, naturopathic physician. I mean, there are so many terms nowadays that it makes it a little frustrating for one who's just trying to get a herbal cure for a particular ailment. So we're going to look into it, and therefore that's going to open the way for the various topic that we are going to discuss over the second season, because we won't just tackle the herbs, but we will also tackle the therapies. And the natural therapies is just a cute and modern words to replace the old terms of natural healing, or even ancestral rituals, the rituals of healing that were used by the elders. And now we just use a beautiful term and we call it therapy, so we can charge a little more.
Okay. So, Doc, tell me a little bit about your topic for this afternoon. You're going to talk about therapy or particularly hydrotherapy? Because I said hydrotherapy and you
We're
went
gonna
both.
talk about therapy in general, and we are going to end with hydrotherapy because hydrotherapy, by hydrotherapy, you understand that we are going to talk about the use of water to heal. And very often, I find people telling me, I would like to use your services, but I can't afford it. However, my services are really not expensive compared to others because I work from the heart, apart from needing to charge to because I have to survive like everybody else. But sometimes people really don't have it to help themselves, so they would want to know what can I do to help myself from home. And to know how to use water can do a lot for everybody. I mean, this program is technically directed to Caribbean nationals who may not be in the Caribbean anymore. And I think that all of us may remember a particular episode, any episode of sickness, where a grandmother, a mother, an auntie, a neighbor came by and brought a cup of tea. And I was going to speak Creole, sorry. And when you're given the tea, you're asked, drink your tea so that you could feel better. And indeed, sometimes we have no idea what they put in that water. All we know, it comes, it's steaming. Sometimes it tastes good, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it smells good, sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of it, we feel better. And this is also a form of hydrotherapy. So we are going to present them all. And then we are going to conclude with hydrotherapy because technically we are here to empower you to be able to use some tips to help yourself so you don't always have to depend on a therapist to help you.
Okay. So I guess from what you just explained, even drinking tea is considered part of our hydrotherapy also.
But definitely, because it's part of drinking water.
Okay. All right. So there is a very age-old tradition where people are normally given baths because the same herb that you drink a lot of time is that same herb that is used.
Oh my goodness, I have memories of this.
Okay. So is herbal baths also considered a form of hydrotherapy?
Yes, it is. And I'm going to give you a list of many other stuff that are considered part of hydrotherapy as well.
Okay. All right. So let's get image. Let's dive into it. Um.
Okay, so first, I would like to give a disclaimer because, as I explained earlier, I am streaming from the island of Saint Martin and I am a French national. By the way, I'm sure that you have picked up my French accent by now, or you will sooner or later. So it is highly important that I insist that the information we share in this particular series or any other are for the empowerment and educational purpose, and they should not replace the guidance of and consultation of a physician. So you must never disregard a medical advice or delay seeking medical advice because you are accessing and using the information provided in this particular series. Okay, so the content we share is it is not for the purpose of diagnosing anything you may feel right now or treating you based on what you are hearing online. Okay, so this I insist is because me, I'm a French national. So, grand merci. Thank you very much for your
So
patience and for your understanding.
so are you saying that if a person has a medical emergency that they should call a doctor?
Definitely. I mean, Baba has placed his phone number for live dialogue. So, in case you may want to ask a question or jump in, talk with us. But if you feel sick and you have an emergency at 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't try to wake any one of us up. You go to the doctor, you go to the hospital, and you do what is right.
Okay. All right. Well, at least we got that out of the way because you know
Definitely.
we're not trying to be contradictory or we're not trying to create any stage or any
Yeah, we
problem.
have to respect the laws of the countries where we reside. Definitely.
All right. So now let's go a little bit more into the subject of hydrotherapy.
Okay.
Now,
Have you handled the formalities, Baba?
mm, yeah.
Sure. Okay, so as I was explaining, I would like to speak about the term of naturopathy. Sometimes when I introduce myself as a naturopath, people have no idea what I'm talking about. More English speaking people would tell me, what's this? The French people, for the French people or people who are based in Europe, naturopathy is the term, and it is of more recent origin compared to the expression traditional medicine. So we're gonna talk about the terms and what it implies in terms of the therapies that I use. So naturopathic medicine is a system that uses several ancient healing rituals and natural remedies to help the body heal itself.
Okay.
So it embraces many rituals. As I said earlier, we now call them therapy because everything evolved, the language involved. So now we no longer call it ritual, it's a therapy. And so it embraces different therapy from different systems of indigenous healing. So it will include herbs, massage therapy, acupuncture or meridian therapy, exercise, and nutritional counseling. So naturopathy was brought to the United States from Germany in the 1800s, but some of its treatment can be traced back as far as 4 and 5,000 years ago. I mean.
Okay.
So naturopathy stands for nature cures or natural cures. So it aims at removing the basic cause of disease through the rational use of elements freely available in nature in order to maintain your vital force that we can call ki, as per traditional Chinese medicine term, or prana, as per Ayurveda. And in our tradition, we say your ashe. Okay, so it's not only a system of healing, but it is a way of life.
Okay.
So the whole philosophy and practice of naturopathy is technically based on three basic principles. So the first one is that all forms of disease are due to the same cause, namely the accumulation of waste material and bodily refuse in the system.
Okay.
So these ways are identified through different labels. For example, the Dr. Sebi advocates speak in terms of mucus. Once people speak about biomineral healing and anything in respect to Dr. Sebi, the word is mucus. Whereas, for example, in Ayurveda, we speak about the same thing, but we use a different term and we say ama. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they say du. Most likely, I did not pronounce that right, but it's spelled in two letters, D and U. So in everyday naturopathy now, we simply speak about toxins, but regardless of the term that we use, we all speak about the same concept and we all have the same focus.
Okay.
So, in the healthy individual, the waste material are removed naturally through the organs of elimination. But in the weaker individual, they are steadily piling up in the body through years of faulty habits of living with poor nutrition or lack of exercise, lack of self-care, but also poor recovery from trauma or from grief, from stress, and all of these contribute to body exhaustion and eventually can lead to a gradual breakdown of your organs, which will result in the manifestation of sickness. So, wise approach to healing is to employ the strategies that we are going to speak about, because they can enable the system to throw off, get rid of the toxic accumulation. Hence, all the natural therapies inherited from the various system of indigenous healing are actually directed towards this particular end. It's just to remove the excess in the body in order to allow your body to function at the best potential. Because the way your body is going to function at age 10, it's not how it's going to function at age 60, 70, 100 years old. Okay, so the second principle of naturopathy is that all acute diseases, such as fever, colds, inflammation, allergies, digestive disturbances, skin eruption, are nothing more than the body's self initiated efforts to reject the accumulated waste material. So, it is often said that chronic health disorders are often a consequence of continued suppression of the acute disease through harmful methods. So I'm going to give an example. If you're suffering from a chronic pain in the shoulder, usually you're going to be unable to lift up heavy weights or unable to move your arm or your body with speed. When you rest, or when you move slower, you restrict yourself from lifting heavy load, your muscle get a chance to regenerate at the pace that it needs. However, too often according to our social commitments, we don't really have the time to rest as much as we need until we are completely healed. So, for example, a continued use of painkillers in this context will enable an individual to move faster, to lift up heavy weight, and to go about their day as if nothing happened to the body. You just, like, once you feel the pain again, you just pop another painkiller. You give it the time it needs to kick into the
Because,
body.
Doc, if I could ask a question, though, is that a good thing? Because I mean, if the body feels pain, it is a
Mhm.
sign that something is going wrong.
Is going wrong, exactly. And so therefore wisdom would be that if your body is hurting you somewhere, you need to rest and you need to observe what's really the cause of that pain. Okay, so as I say, uh, very often we can't afford to sit down and deal with the pain. I'm a person who cannot stand painkillers. I try my best to avoid them as much as possible. But I'll give, for example, my personal experience over the summer. I got, the disease that I try my best not to name over any social media so we don't get shut down anywhere. And so I was done for 6 weeks. I know you're smiling, Baba. And the worst thing to do, I mean, like everybody explained that we should not use painkillers because it's going to make matters worse. So to be sure that I had it, the first thing I did, I went and get some painkillers to see if I was going to get sicker. And I did. I did get sicker, so I had an idea that eventually I was positive, and I had just dealt with people who had it, so I knew pretty quick that I was positive as well.
Okay.
But I kept on using the painkillers for 3 to 4 days. Why? Because I live alone with children. And so there was nobody to take care of blending herbs for me and, take care of many things in the house. So therefore, I had to take the painkillers to be able to do the basic.
Okay.
And whereas some people would heal in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I took 6 weeks to heal with the same protocol just because I didn't give my body the rest it needed while I was sick. So that's just like a basic example. If you allow your body to rest, it's going to heal faster. But we understand that sometimes circumstances just make it challenging. And even for those of us who know better, sometimes we're just going to do the exact opposite of what we preach because of the circumstance.
Okay. But I mean, from my training and from
Mhm.
my knowledge, most of these painkillers has adverse side effects. One of them being notably kidney damage, and the other one is damage to the lining of the stomach. This is one of the reasons why they would normally tell you when you're using particular painkillers, you should also drink milk. That is to avoid the damage of the lining of the stomach. But I mean, I don't want to go too much off on that, but
No, but
I'm
I'm
saying
glad
that
that
is
you mentioned that because technically, what happened when we take those painkillers or when we take other type of chemical blend, if I may call it like that, because I have nothing like I have no problem with medicine, modern medicine, allopathy, or whatsoever. There is a space for everything in the society in which we live. Okay, but we have to understand that the focus of modern medicine is not the same as the focus of natural healing, and I'm going to explain a little more about that further down in the presentation. And when you take a pill to be able to get by, you keep on damaging whatever is or was whatever was not functioning in the body. But also you cause your body now to have to overcome those side effects that you are talking about.
mhm.
So it's like you think that you think that you feel better. In fact, you are able to move about faster because you are numbing the symptoms, but they remain there. And so the more medication that you take is the more numbing of the body. And then what happened nowadays that people at 45 years old, 48 years old, are facing all kind of technical complication with their health. And They don't seem to find any solution, and then they embark, in their 50s, 60s, in this journey where they are subscribed, subscribe. I'm trying to find the right English word, but technically they survive on eating, drinking, popping pills every day.
Okay, well, most people with chronic conditions that are incurable, right, uh, tend to be on several medications,
Indeed.
right? So we live in a society where it's very common for persons to be on 3 and 4 prescriptions that they have to fill monthly or every 2 months or whatever,
Yes.
right? To me, it would make more sense, you know, that you would want to be cured of an ailment and you would want to take some sort of a treatment that would lead eventually to you not having to be using all of this medication.
But we don't always have that time. We don't always have that possibility. Sometimes it's luxury. Look, I just give you a basic example. I knew very well like painkillers was gonna cause me to be sick longer. But I was alone with the children. I had to make sure they were not getting sick, you know, and the house still had to be functioning. It was very difficult. I had to strain my body, but the only way to be able to lift up the first finger for the day, I had to take the painkillers. Whereas in my regular lifestyle, I don't take any because I know the consequence of taking them. You know,
Yeah.
I can give you another example. Women who suffer with fibroids, sometimes the fibroid, it doesn't have to be fibroid only. Those who suffer from endometriosis, can never pronounce that in English.
Endo,
Metriosis.
yeah, endometrium.
Okay, so women who suffer from those conditions, uh, whenever it becomes really out of control, they experience a lot of pain during intercourse. And yes, there are some gonna want to have the wisdom to use natural cure to take the time to heal everything and to be able to to be more spontaneous, let's say, right?
Okay,
But if you're married and you have a husband, I don't think the husband is willing for you to take 2 years to heal yourself. So
okay,
therefore, while you are handling the natural medicine, you may have to use something else to be able to manage the situation in the meantime. And I just use that extreme example because indeed, our life and the people who depend on us does not always allow us to take the time to heal because we live in a fast-paced society.
okay. All right. I mean, I follow your example. I understand how it works in terms
No
of
problem.
type of
So
situation.
okay. The third principle of naturopathy, if we may get back to that track, is that a human being belongs to the earth and therefore function like Mother Nature. And by this, what do I mean? If you cut the grass, what happens? It will grow back. So just as nature regenerates, the human body contains an elaborate healing mechanism which has the power to bring about a return to normal or optimal condition of health, provided the right methods are employed to enable it to do so. But also if you do it at the right time. In other words, the power to heal lies within the body or nature itself. So the main difference between the traditional and modern systems of healing is that the modern system um, treat symptoms and often hinder the body's self healing effort, making recovery a little more challenging or longer. So, individual then have to recover from the initial illness plus from the side effect of the drugs that is used.
Okay,
So, that's just to get back to my own example. When my son had the vivid, let's say, call it vivid. When my son had it, my son was cured in less than 2 weeks. And
okay,
then when he was up, I got sick, but I was gone for 6 weeks. But
okay. But
I never gave him painkillers.
but let me ask you a question. How old
Sure.
was this particular son, and how active was he? In other words, how well you think his immune system was working in order for
And
him
well,
to be?
you see, my son is young. My son is 8 years old. We didn't even understand how he got it. I don't want to get into anything that would cause me to have to go and answer to the French gendarmes tomorrow. But during the summer, for those who follow me on social media, I was sharing a lot of the different social protests on the French island, including on the island of Saint Martin. But ultimately, many nationals decided to get vaccinated, and the more people got vaccinated, we get a huge outburst of COVID. So
Yeah.
in between all those things, my children got tired of being home all the time, and this particular one is 8 years old. He played football. He loved drumming, so that's an active boy. But he eats a lot. He loves eating. He's not fat, but he's probably like, yeah, he's a whole lot thicker than his older brother, for example. And that plays a part also in terms of the way we process our toxins.
Okay.
And when he got sick, he didn't say anything right away. I just noticed he was drinking a lot of bush tea on his own. Well, that's the lifestyle we live.
Oh,
And
that's
usually,
fantastic.
excuse me?
I say that's fantastic because a lot
Yeah,
of
but
children don't like to
that's
drink.
the lifestyle we live, and they know that I won't take them to the doctor so easily,
Okay.
you know? And but they also know that if they tell me that they feel sick, now I might give them herbs that have bitter to taste and that they don't like. So usually they will try to handle it on their own. And when
Okay.
they can't handle it on their own now anymore, then they will say, Mommy, I'm not feeling well. So by the time my son told me he was not feeling well, he probably had not been well for 2 or 3 days. But during the 2 or 3 days, this boy went out and played football. He was on the PlayStation for hours. I did notice that he was sleeping a little more, but he was still moving about. It's only like after a while it was overbearing for him. He had difficulty breathing, and the joint pain was terrible. So what we did, um, I had other relative in France who contracted the virus as well. So I had already blend enough, capsules,
Okay.
syrup, teas, just name it. So I work on him right away. We use a lot of steam medicine because if the body cannot excrete the toxin, we gotta help the body to get them out. And after a few steam treatment, I mean, by that time he couldn't walk anymore because the pain was too much.
All
And
right.
that's actually how I contracted it. So my other son and I, we lift him up and we dragged him to the sea.
All
And
right.
again, that's hydrotherapy, and we really handle him the old time way. So we dodge him enough time.
Okay. So then now I have a question. So would
Yes,
steam inhalation be considered also hydrotherapy?
it is.
All right. Okay. And then you
Okay.
also mentioned going to the beach. Well, lucky for
Yes.
you, we can't do that in Trinidad right now. We
Well,
under.
technically, we were not supposed to do it neither. But although I live next door to the hospital, I wasn't going to the hospital, so we just took a chance and we went anyhow.
Okay.
And the difference in what happened is very important. My other son is 14. He never got sick because it's another soccer player. This boy now doesn't have an inch of fat on his body. So therefore, he was exposed just like I was, but he never got sick. Because the minute I realized that the first one was sick, I gave everybody the dose of herbs. So we all took the same herbs, but
Okay.
I
So
got sick.
so in other words, you boosted everybody's immunity.
Everybody.
All
But
right.
I still got sick. I got sick for many reasons. I'm older, I'm heavier, and I'm
Okay.
dealing with other health situations. So it became too much for my body to
Okay.
deal with.
Okay. Okay.
So
I
it
understand.
took me a little longer to recover because I had all this dealing with, and I took painkillers. So instead of resting, I was still up forcing myself to do things that my body wasn't supposed to experience.
All right. Yeah. It's now we on for like 39 minutes.
Yeah, so we gotta
Right.
get going.
Right. So I don't know how long you want to be on again. So based on that, I don't know how far along you are with your presentation, but I'm just giving you a time check.
Okay, bye bye. All right, so the traditional or the natural approach is usually to treat the whole organism. So we aim at readjusting the human system from abnormal to normal condition and to functioning normally as well. And we do so by adopting various methods. of natural cure, which are in conformity with the principle of nature. So, if something is not working with you, we gotta remove it. All right, so we are going to remove the accumulation of toxic matter and whatever poison that is causing injury to your vital organs. So I'm speaking about poison because a poison for me mightn't be a poison for you. According to your body constitution, eating certain food mightn't be good for you, where it might be good for me.
Okay.
But because it's not the modern lifestyle. People tend to eat any and anything, and then they wonder after a while, why am I sick? Why do I have joint pain? Why do I have asthma? Okay, so this is what I call poison, because a particular food, even if it is a natural food, could be a poison to your body.
Okay.
So, one of the first target of the naturopath is to regulate the diet, of course, and that's because in order to get rid of whatever accumulated toxins you have within, and to restore the internal balance, we have to control what we put inside the body while we are healing. It makes absolutely no sense to take herbs to heal and you just keep on fooling your body with a lot of trash. That makes no sense. It
All
doesn't
right.
matter how expensive the supplement, whether you go and you pick them in the bush yourself. It makes no sense to take a natural treatment while you keep on, poisoning your body with substance that is not able to digest and to process.
So here are you saying as part of the treatment, it is necessary for the clients to adjust their lifestyle?
It's always important. It's always necessary. It's always, an example of that could be that if drinking liquor is causing somebody to have damages in the liver, you can't expect to drink a treatment to heal your liver and you're still drinking liquor.
All right.
So you have to handle the cause, and to remove all the excess, you have to limit the amount of toxin that you are ingesting.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we have
yes.
3 more minutes, so
Oh, 3 more minutes.
yeah, so yeah, the wrap up.
Uh, wow. Okay, so I think we're gonna need to have a part two.
All right, no
So
problem.
I think, excuse me.
I said no problem here.
Okay, because it wouldn't make sense to just jump to the end. I rather would have a part two for another time.
Okay, no problem.
So, what I want to say is that it's highly recommended to exclude the much acid forming food from the diet and to ingest as much alkaline food as possible. And by as much as possible, we actually recommend that 75% of your diet should consist of alkaline substances while you are healing. If you are already in balance, you do not need to use that much. But if you are suffering, you need to focus on eating at least 75% of alkaline natural food.
All right,
Why?
let me ask one quick question.
Sure.
In trying to get that acid and alkali balance, if a person is accustomed to eating a lot of acid, high protein food and all, would you recommend the use of bitter herbs or anything like that as part of the process also?
Definitely. Because all of this is going to help to strip the acidity from the tissues, from the lymphatic system, and from the bloodstream. All right. And but apart from the herbs, because we tend to look at natural healing at only drinking herbs, it's not only drinking herbs. There are other, therapies that we could do to help the body get rid of it a whole lot faster.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right,
So
yeah.
yeah, I just want to say that alkaline food, they occur naturally, meaning that you can find them in nature, so they contain their own life force, and the life force of those food is what act as a cleansing and revitalizing agent for your body. And technically that's what we need to feed on in order to boost our balance, because if you overload the body with morbid matter when it's already not functioning well, you only risk, jamming your digestive organs and get sick.
All right. So basically, that's it for this week
Sure.
edition of the IFA Orisha tradition. The IFA, the Herbal Health Sorry, I'm reading the caption. That is the conclusion of our show for this week, which is the herbal health, traditional herbal health. All right, Iya, I want to thank you for appearing on the show and being such a fine host. And I would like to say to everyone, Ekabo, those who view the video on the various platforms, like, share, and subscribe. That is the normal recommendation. So, Ekabo, and see you all next time.
Okay, Odabo.
Odabo.